Vayikra, Leviticus chapter 8. And Yahweh spoke to Moshe, saying, Take Aaron and his sons with him, and the garments, and the anointing oil, and the bullock of the sin offering, and the 2 rams, and the basket of unleavened bread, and assemble thou all the congregation at the door of the tent of appointment. And Moshe did as Yahweh commanded him, and the congregation was assembled at the door of the tent of appointment. And Moshe said to the congregation, This is the thing which Yahweh hath commanded to be done. And Moshe brought Aaron and his sons, and washed them with water. And he put upon him the coat, and girded him with the belt, and clothed him with the robe, and put the ephod upon him, and girded him with the skillfully woven band of the ephod, and bound it to him therewith. And he placed the breastplate upon him, and in the breastplate he put the Urim and the Thummim. And he set the mitre upon his head, and upon the mitre in front did he set the golden plate, the holy crown, as Yahweh commanded Moshe. And Moshe took the anointing oil, and anointed the tabernacle and all that was therein, and sanctified them. And he sprinkled thereof upon the altar 7 times, and anointed the altar, and all its vessels, and the laver, and its base, to sanctify them. And he poured of the anointing oil upon Aaron's head, and anointed him, to sanctify him. And Moshe brought Aaron's sons, and clothed them with coats, and girded them with belts, and bound dome caps upon them, as Yahweh commanded Moshe. And he brought the bullock of the sin offering, and Aaron and his sons laid their hands upon the head of the bullock of the sin offering. And he slew it, and Moshe took the blood, and put it upon the horns of the altar round about with his finger, and purified the altar, and poured out the blood at the base of the altar, and sanctified it, to make atonement for it. And he took all the fat that was upon the inside, and the caul of the liver, and the 2 kidneys, and their fat, and Moshe burned it upon the altar. But the bullock, and its skin, and its flesh, and its dung, he burnt with fire outside the camp, as Yahweh commanded Moshe. And he presented the ram of the ascending offering, and Aaron and his sons laid their hands upon the head of the ram, and he killed it, and Moshe sprinkled the blood upon the altar round about. And he cut the ram into its pieces, and Moshe burnt the head, and the pieces, and the fat. And he washed the inside and the legs with water, and Moshe burnt the whole ram upon the altar. It was an ascending offering for an aroma of assuagement. It was an offering made by fire to Yahweh, as Yahweh commanded Moshe. And he presented the other ram, the ram of consecration, and Aaron and his sons laid their hands upon the head of the ram. And he slew it, and Moshe took of the blood thereof, and put it upon the tip of Aaron's right ear, and upon the thumb of his right hand, and upon the great toe of his right foot. And he brought Aaron's sons, and Moshe put of the blood upon the tip of their right ear, and upon the thumb of their right hand, and upon the great toe of their right foot. And Moshe sprinkled the blood upon the altar round about. And he took the fat, and the fat tail, and all the fat that was upon the inside, and the caul of the liver, and the 2 kidneys, and their fat, and the right thigh. And out of the basket of unleavened bread that was before Yahweh, he took 1 unleavened cake, and 1 cake of oiled bread, and 1 wafer, and placed them on the fat, and upon the right thigh. And he put the whole upon the hands of Aaron, and upon the hands of his sons, and waved them for a wave offering before Yahweh. And Moshe took them from off their hands, and burnt them on the altar upon the ascending offering. They were a consecration for an aroma of assuagement. It was an offering made by fire to Yahweh. And Moshe took the breast, and waved it for a wave offering before Yahweh. It was Moshe's portion of the ram of consecration, as Yahweh commanded Moshe. And Moshe took of the anointing oil, and of the blood which was upon the altar, and sprinkled it upon Aaron, upon his garments, and upon his sons, and upon his sons' garments with him, and sanctified Aaron, his garments, and his sons' garments with him. And Moshe said to Aaron and to his sons, Boil the flesh at the door of the tent of appointment, and there eat it, and the bread that is in the basket of consecration, like what I have been commanded, saying, Aaron and his sons shall eat it. And that which remaineth of the flesh and of the bread shall ye burn with fire. And ye shall not go out from the door of the tent of appointment 7 days, until the days of your consecration be fulfilled. For he shall consecrate you 7 days. As hath been done this day, so Yahweh hath commanded to do, to make atonement for you. And at the door of the tent of appointment shall ye abide, day and night, 7 days, and keep the charge of Yahweh, that ye die not, for so I am commanded. And Aaron and his sons did all the things which Yahweh commanded by Moshe.